Hey everyone, welcome back to the Collector's Compass, the official podcast of Collectors MD, where we explore the intersection of collecting, mental wellness, and responsible engagement across the modern hobby and beyond. I'm your host, Alyx Efron, founder of Collectors MD, and today's episode is one I'm really excited about because it sits right at the intersection of technology, behavior, and intentional collecting. I'm joined by Sherwin Gilani, the founder of SlabTrack, a platform designed to bring structure, clarity, and transparency to the collecting experience. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by tracking your cards, pricing your collection, or trying to understand what you actually own, you'll find this conversation incredibly useful. What stands out to me about Sherwin isn't just the tech that he's built, it's why he built it. He's a collector himself, and like many of us, he hit a point where the hobby started to feel chaotic, inefficient, and emotionally draining. SlabTrack isn't about flipping faster or chasing more. It's about helping collectors slow down, understand their collections, and make informed decisions instead of emotional ones. And that aligns perfectly with what we talk about here at Collectors MD, that healthier systems lead to healthier behavior. Sherwin, I really appreciate you joining me today. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Alex, I appreciate that introduction. Thank you so much. So yeah, my name is Sherwin Gilani. I am the founder of SlabTrack, and I am actually a dentist as well. So getting into a little bit about what SlabTrack is, what I like to say it is the operating system for your trading card, your collectibles, essentially from rip to receipt. SlabTrack handles the entire life cycle. So once you scan it into the platform, it identifies it, tracks the pricing, and you're able to showcase it and able to list it directly to eBay. So this, for me, it just provides people with the better tools, more tools to give like a more informed decision as to how to treat your cards and what you want to do, your exit strategy. Just essentially giving everyone the tools that they need all in one location to be able to make the best decision for themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as you know, when I saw the app or when it popped up on my social feed, I forget exactly how I came across it. I knew I needed to reach out and schedule, an initial conversation just to unpack the why and learn all about it. And from there, we decided that it made so much sense just to bring you on the podcast and talk about a lot of the synergies between our movement and your platform. And it's relatively new, so it's also a great opportunity to just put it out there, let our intentional collectors know that it exists, and give them another option to collect with more intention. So with that, we're going to start with our first segment, which is the moment you knew the hobby needed structure. So I want to start at the beginning. What was the moment you realized the hobby needed more structure, that something was missing?
So yeah, a little over a year and a half ago, I was gifted a case of 90 to 92 NBA cards. And at that moment, I fell right back into the hobby. Probably felt into the irresponsible parts. I just got addicted to ripping packs, just kept all sports, Pokemon, everything. And then it got to the point I'm like, oh man, I have all these cards. Like, what am I going to do with them? Right. So at that point, once I decided to like dive into this, it was about 2025. And I thought that there would already be tools and stuff for this that could easily organize, categorize, like all that stuff. I quickly found out there wasn't. I was diving back from app to app, and it felt like there was nothing that was like completely comprehensive that you can do all in one platform.
Right.
So then what really cemented it was when I went to the card show, it just felt like I was in a time capsule back in 2005. Like, it didn't seem like it upgraded with the amount the hobby upgraded. And just that whole process, I just felt like I saw an opportunity that it needed to be improved and updated to 2025. This, to me, it's like a $13-14 billion hobby. It's absolutely exploded since 2020. So to me, it needs to be treated like an asset, like a stock. And that's what I'm trying to provide, all the information and all of that all in one place so people can make the best decision for themselves.
Yeah. And what you developed is remarkable, really. I mean, It's really sharp. There are a lot of really cool tools, and I think components of the app that our audience, people within our community, will find really, really helpful. And I'm looking forward to unpacking that. But it was all centered around the fact that there was this lack of infrastructure within the hobby, right? There's just so many moving parts. There's so many things happening all the time, whether it be a product release, a card show, an event like Fanatics Fest or the National, which are more or less just glorified card shows.
Yeah.
But then there are all these different platforms and places that you can buy and sell, marketplaces. There are different tools that you can use to track comps or research the history of a particular card. A part of the problem is that there's just so much volume across the board. I mean, we get into the different products, the different sports, the different categories on sports, the TCGs, the franchises like Marvel and Disney and SpongeBob and all of these different categories that have just absolutely exploded over the last couple of years. And you end up with a hobby that is just too overwhelming for the average collector to find, a comfortable entry point. And so I really love about, your platform is that it helps sort of consolidate that experience, organize it in a way, and keep things, all sort of in one central ecosystem, which I think is really, really important for people, again, who are looking to collect with more intention, more clarity, more purpose, and not get sucked into or overwhelmed by all the glitz and glamour, all of the craziness that is going on in today's modern hobby. So you've said before that the process, hadn't really changed in years, like things like the spreadsheets and the just getting values or comps, jumping between these different platforms. So what was really broken about that system for you?
For me, it was like the organization. It was that part, the manual entry, the tedious part that no one wants to talk about. It seemed like it could have been automated. It could have been made to do quicker so you can focus on other things, whether you're a personal collector and have a small collection, or whether you're a bulk seller, you're able to focus on other things to help your business that you don't need to do the tedious stuff as much. That's what kind of started taking the joy away from the hobby, is like, man, I need to put this in an Excel spreadsheet. I need to drag the image, or this platform is not syncing with this platform. So honestly, it just, between juggling different platforms, it became more of a job than something I was trying to get back into and enjoy.
Yeah. And I want to touch on the infrastructure again, and probably be coming back to this quite a bit. But again, just given how massive the hobby has become and how little infrastructure actually exists to support people once they're in it, like you've got these platforms, the marketplaces, the breakers, the influencers, but there's almost no education layer explaining a lot of what's going on within these ecosystems, right? It's kind of wild when you think about it. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but there's no onboarding, there's no playbook, there's no guardrails, right? So beyond just the sort of ethical components that we constantly talk about with the regulation and the safeguards and the lack of transparency, on the other hand, there's just no like rule book or guide to get into the hobby, and most people end up just learning through this like trial and error, right? And unfortunately, that usually means losing money in the process. You end up chasing hits, you end up burning out before you can actually comprehend, you can actually like understand what happened. There's no real like separation between entertainment and financial risk. Everything is just framed as fun or content, but the mechanics underneath are very real.
Yes.
And so that's where we saw the opportunity to enter this space, not to kill the hobby or the fun or slow things down, but to help it grow in a healthy and sustainable direction. Things
Mhm.
like education, transparency, and accountability, especially for the younger collectors, right? If you're getting
Yeah.
in early and learning the right habits now, that actually puts you way ahead in terms of long-term your long-term collecting journey, right?
Yeah.
Hobby doesn't need to or the hobby doesn't necessarily need less passion, it just needs more structure. People can
Exactly.
enjoy it without it turning into something unhealthy. So what I'm getting at is that a lot of these platforms, a lot of these marketplaces lean heavily into, well, how can we capitalize on the hype?
Monetize.
How can we,
Mhm.
monetize, in a way that makes the most sense for our brand, our company, our people, and quite often, whether it's indirectly, directly, people, the collectors themselves, end up having to pay the price.
I
So
completely agree.
anytime we see a platform, an app, and I'll name a few that we've already met with and we've partnered with, the Smarter Collector, My Card Post,
Mhm.
Card Ladder, Market Movers. These are all apps and platforms that sort of have this same mindset when it comes to the mission. We collectively want a healthier, safer, and more sustainable hobby for everyone. And I absolutely think that SlabTrack fits into that mix. And again, just so great that we're bringing you into this fold and
Thank you.
part of this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. Is the onboarding? There doesn't seem to be any onboarding. There's just FOMO. Oh, this Shohei Otani card's going wild. Let me get into it. But that's when you really can learn some lessons. You need to take a step back, look at it. This is an asset. This is an investment. What's my exit strategy? And just it deserves a game plan with how big the hobby and how much money is in it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I keep coming back to is how fast the hobby has grown compared to how little structure there is.
Hmm.
Um, when you really zoom out, you've got just billion-dollar companies like, and I mentioned multi-billion-dollar industry, like Whatnot, for instance, was just valued at $11 billion this year. And we're not talking about the biggest players like
Wow.
Fanatics or Collectors, who owns PSA and now BGS, and
Hmm.
obviously SGC, amongst several other entities. These are like conglomerates,
Yeah.
right? And again, like the lack of infrastructure drives this sense of emotional and impulsive
Yes.
behavior, right? And
I agree.
so that's where we come into the mix. We want to make sure that people have clarity, they have the tools and resources at their disposal so they can collect with intention.
Hmm.
Do you think this whole lack of structure in the hobby contributes to that impulsive behavior? And if so, like, why is that from your
Yeah, I
perspective?
absolutely do, because when you look amongst the different platforms, there, like you're saying, there is no structure, there is no reliable like price point as what price is this, what price is that. So it just causes so much confusion. So that's why something I put into SlabTrack is just quick, easy links to different platforms so you can get a barometer as what is this place saying, what is that place saying. Just it's not going to be exact everywhere. It's not going to be like stocks where, hey, this stock price is going to be the same everywhere. It's going
Right.
to take a little bit of time to get to that point, but that is the point we need to get to. We can't have one platform saying the last sale was $80 and then one platform saying $30. That there needs to be something there to make it consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's tough because the consistency isn't always sort of guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
You have volatility, you
Hmm.
have ebbs and flows in any marketplace. And when it comes to athletes, I mean, it can be based on like a nightly performance, right? Like, for
Hmm.
instance,
Exactly.
like even like a quarterback like Caleb Williams, right, who burst onto the scene this year, the Chicago Bears, playing extremely well, and he's playing lights out. They came up just short last night against
It's crazy game.
San Francisco, right? It was a fantastic game, but they
Hmm.
lost.
Hmm.
So my gut tells me that if Caleb's market was to fluctuate, it would probably fluctuate down over the last 24
Mm-hmm.
hours, which is crazy given that he played extremely well. I mean, he was maybe off by a few inches on that final throw to the end
Yeah.
zone. And, you know, he was a throw away from being a hero once again. I mean, they were calling, what was Chris Collinsworth calling the Bears last night? He had a nickname for them, like the Cardiac Bears or something, just like
Oh, yeah.
implying how resilient they've been all year. But, you know, again, like when you have these natural ebbs and flows, the inconsistencies, the lack of transparency across some platforms, it just ends up being really convoluted. It becomes confusing for the average consumer, the average collector, to be able to unpack and dissect and fully understand, comprehend the information that they're consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you can distill it down and just simplify it in a way that the average collector under the age of, like, you know, 18, young kids can understand it, it just makes it, you know, that much better for everybody involved.
Yeah.
And because, you know, when people can't see clearly, they don't slow down, right? And when they don't slow down, that's when mistakes tend to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So was there anything else you wanted to add there before we shift over to the next segment?
No, just like you were saying, there's ebbs and flows in it, just like any asset, any stock. So just to have like a nice place, organized place that you feel okay with just keeping your cards, like, okay, let me wait this out. And then when it's ready to do what you want with it, it's just easier to do that way.
Absolutely. So our next segment is called From Scanning to Strategy, what SlabTrack actually solves. So let's talk about what SlabTrack actually does, because it's more than just scanning cards, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you walk us through the life cycle you're trying to solve with SlabTrack? And while we do that, I'll pull up the website just so people can get an idea of the layout and the so you can
go ahead. Oh, my bad. Yeah. So
go ahead and I'll share the
my bad. I thought you were putting it up. Yeah. So the main thing when I started building this is I wanted to build SlabTrack as a place to organize your collection, kind of make your card collection digital, and just a nice, easy platform that you're able to decide when you want to sell and whatnot. So the bulk scanning is a very big feature. You can scan up to 100 cards and it identifies it quickly. It gives you the tracking, pricing, and organizes it into different categories within the platform. And once it's in the platform, it syncs with other places, which we'll get into a little bit later. So let me see. Yeah, it gets the lowest buy it now from eBay, and then it also gets historical comps. So for me, I think both of those prices matter, what recently sold and then what's on the market for the selling prices now. So to be honest, it just provides the information and allows people to make better decisions. Let's see. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of features like packed into this. There's a little note section, a little grading review section. I know that people won't use all of the things, but it's all there if they want to use it in the platform. Once people start to use it and get their flow, they'll know exactly what buttons and what's useful for them. This can be for your personal collector all the way to your storefront bulk seller. There's tools that I just integrated that a marketplace for an auction into SlabTrack, easy bulk listing, lot listing, auction listing onto eBay, and just complete like sales analytics tracking. You can track how much you paid for it. You can break down each pack, how much the pack was, and it'll calculate the cost. So just all the tools you need to know like about the business and about your hobby.
Awesome. And then if people want to try it out, they can do so for free, correct?
Yeah, do so for free. You get 100 free scans. You get 50 eBay listings. And we have a public showcase where you can take your cards from your personal collection and whatever you want to showcase, you get a URL for it. And yeah, just a lot of cool tools that I think people will find really useful.
Awesome. Do you have any data around like, you know, number of users and how it's, I know it's super early on, so I don't want to, put you on the spot or
No,
anything like that,
currently
but
we have 64 users. Um, Many of them, we get different usage from all users every day. So we're getting activity every single day.
yep.
Mainly the scanning and stuff. We've had a few people actually successfully list and post on eBay, and one other power tester has been doing the auction listing. So from, I want to say, about 8 weeks ago to now, yeah, pretty good growth. Then from 0 to 150 Instagram followers, so going pretty well.
Awesome. And can you actually upload an image of a card straight from the desktop version here?
Yeah.
So let's try that out real quick. So let's go into my little PC archive here. These are cards that I either currently own or have owned in the past. So let's go with this Jackson Dart. Oh, does it have to be a slab though?
No, it doesn't. So if you could do a slab, it can be front only. If you want to go ahead and do raw, still for right now, it's going to need front and back to identify it better.
Okay.
So
let's do a graded card. Thing is, like, I don't really grade a lot to All right.
yeah.
So will this work? Like a
Yeah,
picture
I mean,
of
it
it on a
should
card
work.
stand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Click
So
scan.
use
Oh, no.
example.
That's
I
going to
hit the
use
wrong
the
thing.
example. Yeah.
Scan card. Got it. So it's doing its little AI magic right now. Oh, three
Yeah.
free demo scans remaining. I haven't logged into my account or anything like that. I just want to showcase to users, sort of what the user flow looks like here. So it's saying card identified. It's a Steph Curry mosaic. It's a stained glass short. I don't even know if these were short print at the time, but from 2019 mosaic PSA 10. So from here, you can look at eBay, which I just clicked on, opened up another screen, but it's basically just all other PSA 10s of this Steph Curry stained glass that are currently listed on eBay. And right now there's only 2. There happens to be one at auction right now with 4 days left that's located in Hong Kong. And then there's another one with an asking price of $999.99 with 46 watchers actually. But then from there, you can also look at sold listings. It looks like the last real comp was like around 590, 600. But this is really cool. And then when you click on view full details, that takes you to another page with some more specific.
Yeah, and if you actually do it in the platform, it unlocks everything on this. So basically, it has a way in there to quickly identify the card if it's like a different parallel or something. Basically, It's the eBay current sales in the platform.
Got it. Yeah, this is really cool. And so a question that I had for you. So let's say you're a dealer and you'd like to scan more than 1,500 cards a month. Is there an option to do that?
There is going to be a higher plan. It'll obviously be a little bit more money, and it'll be more focused for those bulk sellers or storefront people. And there will soon be, it'll either be $39.99 or $49.99, just because the amount of scans. I mean, the scans, it's AI does a beautiful job. It scans it, identifies it very well, but there are still costs associated with that. So, but I think that once people see the use of it, that they will see that it'll be worth it.
Cool. And then what is this NFC integration? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, basically NFC integration is, you see, it was more so for like the vendor shows. You see that like everyone has their little cases and whatnot, and everyone's like, oh, what's in the case? What's in the case? So through the platform and through an NFC app and the stickers, I just essentially put the NFC sticker on the case or on any card. And then people can just easily tap their phone to it and see the entire collection of what's in that case. Or if it's on a card, they can scan the card with their phone, just tap the card with their phone and see like information about that card, past sold, if it's on sale again. So essentially just a way to showcase your cards quickly.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about SlabTrack here in a sec. I'm gonna just stop
Absolutely.
sharing my screen. There we go. Cool. So what really stands out to me with all of this, with this platform, is that you're not just helping people list faster, you're helping them understand what they own,
hmm
right?
hmm
So how does having like real pricing data and organization change the way people interact with their collection?
They're going to be less impulsive. They're not going to feel as uneasy about what decision they want to make. Um, they won't feel like time is sped up. They don't feel like I have to do this now, now, now. When you're looking at a trend and you're taking time to look and take a step back and seeing the trends, it gives you more knowledge to feel comfortable with the decision you're making. It's all about getting information and getting reliable information.
Absolutely. And this ties directly into what we talk about with intentional collecting,
Mhm,
because when people actually know the true numbers, what they paid, what something is worth, what they
mhm,
really own, it removes a lot of emotional noise from the entire equation. So,
mhm.
much of the hobby, much of this chaos within the hobby comes from not having that clarity, not having that information. When you
Mhm.
don't know what you're truly spending, or when you're not tracking what's coming in versus what's going out, everything just starts
Yes.
to feel heavier and
Mhm.
more overwhelming than it has to be. Like, when you hit big, those wins end up feeling bigger than they are, right? If you're
Exactly.
opening a box of cards and you hit a short print, let's say out of the new Topps Chrome basketball,
Mhm.
you might be over the moon that you hit one of those, what do they call them? Glass canvases, one of those new
Mhm.
inserts that Topps just announced. But then you find out after the fact that the card is actually worth a fraction of what you paid for the box,
Exactly.
right? So these wins feel bigger than they are. And then the losses feel even more painful than they should. And decisions start getting driven by emotion instead of intention.
Mhm.
Once you have that visibility, things slow down in a good way. You're not chasing as hard. You're not just reacting to hype or a big hit. You're making decisions from a grounded place,
Mhm.
not from adrenaline or FOMO. And that's really what intentional collecting is all about. It's not about collecting less per se. It's just about collecting with awareness, knowing
Yeah.
your limits, knowing your goals, knowing why you're buying something before you go ahead and click purchase. And when people have that clarity and that information, it just changes everything. The hobby feels lighter, it's more enjoyable, it's less stressful.
Mhm.
You stop feeling like you're behind or trying to catch up, and you start feeling like you're actually in control of collecting again. And when you talk about a lot of the technology and a lot of the apps that have become available to collectors, like, I highly encourage folks to take advantage of modern technology and everything that we
Absolutely.
have at our disposal, because as the hobby evolves, we need to evolve with it, and we need
Mhm.
to leverage the same type of technology that these platforms, manufacturers, breakers, influencers are all using, right?
Exactly.
It's like keeping up. It's almost like wearing a layer of armor when you're
Yes.
going to battle, right? Like,
Yes.
you need to come equipped with the right equipment,
Mhm.
that everybody else is wearing per se, right? Otherwise, you're
Mhm.
just going to fall behind and you're going to get lost in the chaos.
Yeah, and that's what I'm proud of, like SlabTrack. I mean, to me, it feels like enterprise product, whether you're a small collector or whether you're a bulk seller and everything.
Yeah,
And yeah, you started out perfectly. You need to know your why. Why are you purchasing that card? Is it your personal collection? Is it something you think you're going to flip medium term, long term? And then after you know your why, it's all about organization. It's
right.
all about finding a system. And that takes time. You still have to find your system. It's not going to do everything for you. You
Right.
still have to put thought and time into it, but with these tools, it can drastically improve the time and make everything
Yeah.
faster.
You're equipping collectors with the tools needed, necessary, quite literally, are mandatory in order to keep up these days.
Exactly.
So, and you can use it for free. Like it's not like there's no catch here. There's no gimmicks. There's no. So I really commend you for, you know, leveraging your skill set and your experience as a collector to create something that is helping shape a safer, healthier, and more sustainable future for collectors. So, with that, we're going to transition over to the next segment, which is the psychology of collecting and why tools like SlabTrack matter. So, I want to zoom out for a second and talk about behavior. A lot of collectors don't realize how much they're spending until they actually see it laid out. You hear it all the time. It's like people come into our weekly meetings and they're like, you know, I finally took the opportunity to map out or list in an Excel every single purchase that I made this year, and I was disgusted with the number I saw. Some people are just too afraid to, or they're too ashamed to actually, you know, face the music and look in the mirror and tell themselves like, yeah, you spent
It's painful.
significant amount of money this year on cardboard, and you know, now you're paying the price. So from your perspective, how often do you see people shocked by their own data?
I mean, it's high. It's a lot, you know. It's because, like you're saying, a lot of the people didn't get that onboarding. They just go with the trend. Everyone's ripping packs, everyone's buying cards, so they're not educating themselves. And yeah, they think like, okay, I bought this $8 pack, but they don't take the time to equate, okay, so what's the value in this $8 pack? Like,
Right.
sometimes you're only going to get cards you can sell for $2. If you think about it on that small scale, you're like, okay, I lost $6, but you got to think about it on a much bigger scale, like a stock, like an asset, and be like, hey, that's a 75% loss. So I don't think people have the mindset that it is an asset and it's a $13 billion industry. People need to definitely start thinking about it in that way.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think a part of what you're saying is, you know, one of the main reasons why Collectors MD exists in a way, because with intentional collecting, it's not just tracking how much you're spending and tracking the value of every card you pull or buy or making sure that you're always in the green. It's about stripping away all of the monetary value and all these bells and whistles that have been added to the art of collecting.
Yes.
Right. And go back to a day and age where you bought a box of cards because you were buying what was inside of the box, right? Not what could be inside of the box. You were happy with whatever you got, whether it be, you know, a pack, several packs of just base cards where you're trying to complete a set, or you were, you know, just chasing the base version of your favorite player or your favorite rookie. Now it's just all manufactured scarcity and manufactured hype, right? And so because of that, people are only looking at dollar signs and they're not looking at, wow, I actually really like that card. I like that player. I don't really care how much it's worth. You know, it could be worth $5. It could be worth $5,000. It still means something to me because I like it. It fits my collection. It fits my persona. It fits my story. It fits my collecting journey. Right. So that's what we're trying to reinforce. And I know, you know, some of it might sound like unrealistic or canned or cheesy. Like, you know, let's be real. Like at the end of the day, many collectors are really in it primarily because it's an alternative asset for them where, you know, they want to take some of their money they're going to invest in and do so with something that they are passionate about, like sports.
Absolutely.
Right. And so we see both sides, but at the same time, we also want to reinforce that it's not, at the end of the day, it's not all about, you know, the value of the cards you're hitting. So if you go out and you treat yourself to a $500 hobby box and you hit an incredible card that of your favorite player, and it's only worth $100, and that's all you really get back on the box, but you're happy with that card and you enjoyed the process, the experience, and you spent within your means, and you didn't chase and say, well, I didn't get back my full value here, I got to go back to the LCS and pick up another box.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're trying to
bring back into the hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the goal. It's with how much more popular it's becoming, how it's expanding, and honestly, some people are getting priced out of packs and boxes. So it is a challenge. It's going to be a challenging road to get people back to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's almost like rewiring the way collectors were trained to think, and they were, sort of subconsciously trained by social media,
exactly. They want that quick. They want the quick, like, dopamine rush.
It's the power of marketing is really what it comes down to.
Yes.
I was in advertising and marketing for 13 years before I founded Collectors MD. So I understand the nuances of, how to capture somebody's attention by pulling their heartstrings, by tapping into certain parts of their brain where, they feel a sense of, like, urgency. I need this. If I don't grab this right now, I'm going to completely miss out. Right. And we see it all the time. We see it during specific seasons, certain events. I mean, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday season. Right now, we're in the absolute thick of it when it comes to that type of advertising and marketing. So, it's just really about sort of rewiring our brains and the way we approach collecting, right?
Yeah.
And it's not about shaming anyone. It's just about education and awareness. Like, so do you think having structure and visibility actually helps reduce, like, a lot of this compulsive behavior?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you have the structure and you have a game plan and you feel confident about what you're seeing and you feel educated, you're going to look at it and you're going to want to make the right decision, and you're going to have more tools to back up why you made that decision. It's with anything you choose to want to get good at, you got to educate yourself. That's the number one thing. And you need tools that support that.
Right. Yeah. And people don't need more willpower. They just need better systems.
Patience.
Right.
Patience
When the system slows you down, it gives your brain time to catch up. Right.
Yes.
So with that, we're going to transition over to our next segment, which is the business of the hobby and where it's headed. So you've got a front row seat to where the hobby is heading, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the average collector doesn't realize about how fast things are changing, especially from a technological standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they realize that this isn't just a fad, that you see what the big names are doing, you see the money they're putting into it, you see what they're making, is that this is going to go a long way. And I think it's powered by, like, my generation. This is like, we used to do this and collect these for the passion and for what we enjoyed. And now we're kind of like bringing it back. Right. So when it first started, 2020, I was a little skeptical. I didn't jump into it as hard as I probably should have. But now I'm just see that what all the big names are doing, that this is here to stay for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's scary because the idea of, like, the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen with certain things, right?
Yes.
Like this Fanatics takeover that is now officially underway. We don't know the direction it's going to go in with both the NBA and NFL licensing and what that'll mean to the hobby as a whole, right? A lot of us, especially those that got back into the hobby, early on in the pandemic, like myself, all we really knew was, like, Panini basketball, Panini football, like all of the iconic K-Sit inserts, kabooms, downtowns. Those might still exist in some capacity with, the unlicensed product, which I'm sure Panini will continue to pump out. But we've really turned a corner in terms of, the ownership, the overall, ownership and who's in charge of this industry now with Fanatics. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are up in the air. You hear about these class action lawsuits and people
Yeah.
just disgruntled with redemptions and the experience within these platforms, Fanatics Live, whatnot. And there's still no regulation, there's no
Exactly.
guardrails. That's something we're advocating for. So like we don't know what direction the hobby will go in. I mean, at the end of the day, like if the government wanted to step in and do something about
Okay.
the gambling like mechanics, if somebody with enough power, enough money was to come in and say and look around and say this is crazy, this is
Hmm.
just complete chaos, we're shutting this down, like does the hobby just go away overnight? I don't know. Like is it like too big to fail? Is it at that point with collectors and Fanatics and whatnot, and all of these big players now with just endless amounts of money? Like, does Michael Rubin have a legal department that is strong enough to be able to withstand a lot of the pushback that we're seeing across the board? I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know the
it's tough
answers
to
to these
tell.
questions. So again, like going back to the idea that the unknown is just daunting in a lot of ways. We just have to kind of take it one day at a time and control what we can control, right? And
Hmm.
what we can control is whether or not we decide to collect with intention, to stay within
Hmm.
our means, to not get sucked into these hype traps and dopamine loops that so many collectors have fallen victim to over the last couple of years.
I
and
couldn't agree
and the
more.
only way we can do that is through, again, education and awareness.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it is a little scary to think about. The hobby does need a little more transparency, and I mean, maybe at this point, it does need a little regulation. It does need, like we're talking about this whole podcast, it does maybe need a little bit more structure.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
we've seen this explosive growth, but the infrastructure hasn't had the
Hmm.
opportunity to catch up,
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's a perfect way of putting it.
Yeah. So do you think this next phase of the hobby is really less about hype and more about sustainability?
Yes. Yeah. With how much it has jumped since 2020, how the percentages Pokemon's gone up. We got One Piece now, and just the prices. It's going to be about sustaining this, and we may not see those quick booms in the next few years, but let's go ahead and keep it stable and then get ready for the next run.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's interesting because the more we talk about these things and say, people are just getting hit over the head left and right by these releases and the box
Hmm.
prices. I mean, the Breakers Delight format of Topps Chrome Basketball is north of $2,000 now. I'm seeing some break groups and card shops charging as much as like $3,000 a box
It's
for like
wild.
10 cards. It's insane. And we're not even talking about the first day issue there. Topps's version of Panini's first off the line that they sold at Dutch auction, which,
I didn't even
after
know
the
that.
fact, yeah, it was going for like upwards of $3,500, $4,000 a box. I mean, the
Jesus.
prices of boxes have just gotten out of control, right? We're talking about Topps Chrome. It's not a high-end product. It's a
Exactly.
flagship product that, really should only cost $300 at most
But
for
like you
hobby
say,
jumbo.
it's the marketing. It's the marketing of pulling that card,
Right.
pulling those selective cards that
Right. They've made
doing
it
a good job.
possible. Yeah, they've made it possible now with the cards that they're actually putting into the set, like these gold logo men and the debut patches.
Hmm.
They're taking advantage of the fact that Fanatics has these partnerships with the league, so they can, and the jerseys too, the apparel,
Hmm.
so they can work with the NBA, work with Nike to make sure that all of the award winners from the prior year
Oh yeah.
have gold logo man on their jerseys. And then they also are able to control where that jersey ends up after the game. They make
Yep.
sure that they can now obtain that jersey, cut out the logo man, put it inside of a card, then put it inside of a box. right?
Mm-hmm.
And this entire sort of supply chain, this entire controlling that entire ecosystem allows them to dictate the market, right?
Exactly.
Because they know that a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander logo man is going to fetch north of $50,000, maybe even six figures,
Yep.
given, you know, his recent accolades. So because of that, they can drive the value, the retail, the MSRP, like up
Whatever they want.
exponentially, right?
Whatever they want.
So what scares me again about the future is what happens with the high-end products, right? Like we haven't even gotten into like the Topps Chrome Sapphire territory yet. We haven't even gotten into the NBA Dynasty or you know, the definitive, or I mean baseball's Diamond Icons. I don't know what they're going to call it for basketball, but they've already kind of toyed around with some of these high-end products with the unlicensed sets. Like there was Royalty and there was Tops 3 and there was Midnight. I mean, they had, you know, a whole assortment of products that came out over the last year with the Victor Wembanyama auto chase. But you know, it's beyond me, like what this could potentially lead to.
Yeah, it just prices out the whole market pretty much.
Right.
Really
we haven't even gotten into the NFL licensing yet. So like realize that Prism football has always been 2 to 3 times more expensive at box price than Prism basketball. And you know, that could be because of the formatting. It could be because quarterbacks just tend to sell better than some of the NBA superstars. But if we see that same sort of formula, that same sort of format carry over to Fanatics and Topps, then we're going to be looking at like $7,000-$8,000 hobby boxes for Topps Chrome football, which is just it's mind-boggling. Is really what it is.
Let's hope it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, time will tell. The collector, the average collector, has already been priced out, like you said, 100%. Unfortunately. And so, where does that leave, you know, the hobby? Where does that leave the current state of the hobby? I mean, you have like folks like Kevin O'Leary and Shine. I mean, Shine is actually a friend of the movement. He is a supporter and somebody that I've known for quite some time. These are individuals that just play in a different stratosphere in terms of like the high-end markets, right? Like they're creating this, what are they calling it? Wonder Shine Index, where they're basically trying to position the sports card hobby as its own asset class and then create like this index of cards that, you know, are worth upwards of $1 million a piece, and then like basically display them in a museum of sorts. And by doing that, that's going to generate more, you know, I don't know, revenue opportunities and market share, all like the financial jargon. But like that is that even considered part of the hobby? Because we're not talking about even like the high-end collectors anymore. We're talking about like the next level, people who are millionaires, billionaires who want to get into the space.
Yeah, I mean, that's a completely different ballgame. There's always going to be that in like any different industry, but hopefully it's not taken advantage of at that level. You know, we just need some consistency throughout, need some structure. So it's interesting, and there's no really way to answer or respond to that.
Yeah. Again, like we're not sorcerers. We don't have a, you know, a magic, what is it called? The
Magic
crystal ball that they use to predict the future, but time will tell. So where do you see platforms like SlabTrack fitting into this sort of dystopian future that we just kind of outlined?
Yeah, I mean, I see it as SlabTrack is turning your collectibles as digitalized, so you can look at it wherever you want on the go, and just providing that structure, that organization to allow people to have the tools to track their pricing, track their cards, and to learn from each card. There's a lot of valuable tools that can be learned from this hobby that can be applied to many other aspects of life. Mainly being like patience and organization. So just allowing that organization and taking away the tedious stuff so you can focus on other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I mean, I'll say, I'll sort of illustrate this one more time, but I just think about it like being prepared for battle, not in the literal
Yeah.
sense, but in terms of the mindset and the equipment. Like you wouldn't
Yes.
walk into something unpredictable without understanding the terrain, right?
Exactly.
With knowing that you're up against, no, without knowing what you're going to be up against or having the right tools or weapons at your disposal. And the
Mm-hmm.
hobby is kind of the same way now. I mean, things are just moving fast. Um, the price swings are insane. The trends come and go.
Yes.
Platforms change rules. New products drop every day. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're not prepared, if you don't understand how the systems work, you're basically walking in completely blind. And when that happens, that's when emotion takes over. And that's where being equipped really matters. Knowing your
Yeah.
numbers, understanding the risks, having the boundaries, knowing when to engage and when to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your tools.
Mm-hmm.
They're what protect you when the hype is loud and the pressure is just too high. And the thing is, like, being prepared doesn't mean being paranoid or defensive. It just means you're being intentional. You're not
Yeah.
reacting to every signal or chasing every opportunity. You're moving with purpose. You're protecting
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And in a lot of ways, the hobby today demands just more awareness than it used to. If you don't
Oh,
come
100%.
in equipped, you can get overwhelmed and pushed to the curb so quickly. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have the right tools, knowledge, discipline, perspective, along with the right apps like SlabTrack, you're able to enjoy it for what it's supposed to be without getting pulled into all of that chaos. That's really the goal. It's not to fight the
Absolutely.
hobby or to generate negativity or be pessimistic, but rather to be prepared enough to navigate it without losing yourself in the process.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the tools just provide you to be able to get educated on that, but you want to be well equipped. I mean, it's an industry that's booming.
Yeah, yeah. You have to be equipped. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to be educated.
Yeah,
All
completely
right.
agree.
So we're going to transition over to our final segment, which is responsibility, balance, and healthy collecting. So, one of the things that I respect most about what you're building, Sherwin, is that it isn't designed to push people to spend more. It's
Mhm.
designed to help them be more intentional. So, what does a healthy relationship with collecting look like to you?
It's that you know the trends of the card, you know you have a good exit plan, you know why you're purchasing the card in the first place, whether you think the player is going to be a quick trajectory and a quick flip, or it's someone that you really enjoy and is just for your personal collection. Just essentially just being equipped with the tools and to be comfortable with making the decisions. It's just education. For me, it's being as educated as you can to make the best decision.
Right. And when a newcomer comes in, like a young kid, let's say, and they're
Mhm.
just under the assumption that the sports card hobby, the TCG hobby, they're really like considered by outsiders, by people, the outside looking in, as
Mhm.
something that's juvenile, right? It's something that's rooted in childhood, rooted in nostalgia. And I think that a lot of these platforms and manufacturers are taking advantage of that. They
Yes.
know that people feel that way, and so they make it overly complicated. They confuse
Mhm.
things in a way that causes people to make impulsive and emotional decisions.
Yeah, there's no
So,
standardization.
so how do we do a better job collectively of, again, equipping young collectors, young, uneducated, and impressionable children who are getting into the hobby with the right tools and resources?
I mean, that's going to be the challenge because, like we were talking about before, is the marketing and what they're marketing towards. Pull this one card, pull that one card. It needs to be onboarding with intention, like what you guys preach and everything. It can't be just directly jumping into the hobby buying packs. They need to have a little bit of knowledge beforehand. Um, and yeah, with the quick instant gratification, especially with kids. They always have a phone, they always have an app. That's the challenge, is to try to relay that to them, the organization, the patients, and everything. So it's definitely an uphill battle, but if you do have the tools that make the tedious part quicker, I feel like you're able to learn more about those parts.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There is another layer to that I want to talk about real quick, and that's the guardrails, right? The safeguards, the age gates. And I want to paint a picture for you and for everybody listening for a moment here. I was watching a Whatnot Live stream last night. I stay immersed in these platforms, not as a customer, but really more so as a bystander, as somebody who's at the front lines of this movement. And, I really need to see what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm watching one of the biggest single sellers, or not single sellers, but personal sellers on Whatnot. This is somebody who sells hobby boxes by the case, by the single box, to people. And rather than it being like a break format, they're just opening personal boxes for people, right?
Yeah.
So this guy, I'm not going to say his name, he's got over 1,500 people in the live. The comments are just scrolling in. It's like watching like an Aiden Ross live stream where his comments are just like flying
nonstop.
Yeah, they're flying in. And all of a sudden I started to notice that a few people in the chat were addressing this one particular user. And again, I'm not going to name drop or mention anybody, but people were noticing that this user kept typing the same thing over and over again, trying to get the attention of the seller, of the breaker, of this individual. And people, he was asking questions like, hey, can I get your autograph? Hey, like, how do I get a free pack? How do I buy a box? How do I do this, that, the other? People started to ask this person, how old are you? Because it was pretty obvious that this person was a young child.
Yeah.
Right. So he responds and he says, I'm 11. He says, I'm 11. Okay. Now you have an 11-year-old immersed in this space, completely, overwhelmed and excited and nervous, and just it's so incredibly dangerous for a child to be in that type of environment. So anyway, as this situation escalated, the kid was typing, I only have 5 minutes, I only have 3 minutes, my iPad is going to die, which told me that his parents set a tracker or a limit on the iPad where it just turns off at a certain time. Right. So he's like, please, like, just shout out my name, or, tell me how to buy a box so you can shout out my name. Anyway, all of a sudden it comes across the screen that this person bought a box, and I'm not an inexpensive box. And everybody in the live is like egging him on, cheering him on. Mind you, before that, people were egging him on to buy a box.
Yeah.
So that the breaker, could shout him out. And so he buys the box, and finally the breaker's like, oh yeah, hey, whatever. Like, you're in the queue. Like, I got you, in a few minutes. And the kid's just like, what did I buy? Is this me? Am I up now? And he had no idea what was going on. He was just navigating the app, trying to figure out a way to get the attention of the breaker. Mind you, he had just purchased, I don't know, $300 box. And now people in the chat are like, oh, your mom's going to be pissed off tomorrow. Like, expect a Whatnot chargeback tomorrow. Like, all this chaos, and it's all happening in real time. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how is there no oversight here? How is nobody on Whatnot side of things addressing the fact, or realizing that or like flagging through some sort of technology or alert system that there is an 11-year-old in the live purchasing product
100%
at midnight? So that sort of thing happens all the time. That's just one example. And the reason why I felt like it was so important to sort of illustrate that entire scenario is because, again, it's just happening more and more often. You hear these horror stories. I heard that there's a lawsuit up in Massachusetts with this one kid who just, got access to mommy and daddy's credit card information. And next thing they knew, they ended up with a $70,000, monthly statement. all from Whatnot or Fanatics. And now they're suing, Fanatics for negligence, or, for the fact that they were able to give access to a young kid.
Yeah.
So this is just stuff that is going on behind the scenes that a lot of people just don't know about or aren't talking about. And it's a major problem. And it's something that needs to be addressed very, very fast.
Yeah. I mean, even the first time I tried to navigate Whatnot, it was confusing for me. Like, it's not a simple process. There is no onboarding. And yeah, that kind of takes away from the community feel when it's like that. And that's what we need to get back to, not just chasing that one special card. That this card is the communication and that community.
Yeah. And if you're a kid and you just want to be involved in like something that all kids were involved with at some point in their childhood, in their youth, in their adolescence, then they shouldn't have to enter this, dangerous environment, this digital environment and go through that whole process in order to feel that, in order to experience that.
It seems a little like the wild, wild west out there.
Exactly. We have to, there has to be real change implemented. People need to start paying attention to this though, because it's an epidemic and it's only going to get worse if we don't, start speaking up and making real change.
Completely agree.
And, we say this a lot at Collectors MD. Guardrails aren't anti-hobby, they're pro-collector, right?
Yeah, it's so the hobby can sustain and continue growing. Because if there's no guardrails, there will be a big drop. This hobby has too much money in it now.
Yeah. Structure actually protects enjoyment in the long run.
Exactly.
And 100%. The platforms and the manufacturers can start to see that and acknowledge it and actually make real, tangible changes, adjustments, shifts. It's only going to be better for the greater good. So hopefully we start seeing that soon. Hopefully some of these folks start paying attention to these types of conversations, and hopefully more people join us in this movement as we continue to push forward. So with that, we're going to shift over to our rapid fire reflection round. I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to hit me with the first thing that comes to mind. You ready? Awesome. All right. So one habit every collector should build.
Organization and patience.
The biggest mistake, organization. The biggest mistake you see collectors make.
FOMO, chasing that one card that's marketed heavily.
A feature in SlabTrack you're most proud of.
The turning it digital, just the organization that people really enjoy viewing their cards on the platform.
One thing collectors underestimate about their own behavior.
That the time spent and what actually takes into like purchasing card and what you're doing with it.
What does intentional collecting mean to you?
That you are educated and you are making the moves with a purpose and that purpose.
One tool you think every collector should be using?
SlabTrack.
What excites you most about the future of the hobby?
It brings me back to like my childhood and growing up and collecting. It's just, I know we're turning this into a little bit of digital, but just having that card on you just gives you a good feeling.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's just a matter of protecting that, protecting that purity. And lastly, finish this sentence. Collectors would be better off if they
took the time and educated themselves.
Sherwin, this was an incredible conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. What I love about this discussion is that it shows how technology can actually support healthier behavior, not exploit it. Exactly. This isn't about collecting less. It's about collecting with clarity, intention, and confidence. If you want to learn more about SlabTrack, check out slabtrack.io and make sure to download the app. And if anything in today's conversation resonated with you, whether it's about spending, habits, or just feeling overwhelmed, Collectors MD is here as a resource. We host free peer support meetings every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and a Thursday group in partnership with the Problem Gambling Coalition of Colorado called Unboxed, powered by Collectors MD. You can find everything we do at collectorsmd.com. Also, make sure to check out more episodes of The Collector's Compass on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and all streaming platforms. You can also find episodes of our other two podcasts, Beyond the Breaks and Collectors MD Features. I'm Alex Efron. This is The Collector's Compass, reminding you to collect with intention, not compulsion. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.